Namaste. And a very warm welcome to you, our listener, to this very first deep dive with Vedic Dialogues. I'm really excited to have you with us. Here, we basically take complex topics, look through articles, research, insights you might share, and we try to pull out those, fascinating bits of knowledge, the surprising facts, to help you feel really well-informed, and pretty quickly, too.
Indeed. And today we're diving into something that I think beautifully connects ancient wisdom with, well, modern understanding. We're talking about Mantranki Shakti, the power of mantras. Our goal is really to explore how these age-old practices seem to line up with what science is telling us today. It's not just about knowing what mantras are, but digging into why they still hold such significance.
Exactly. Have you ever just stopped to think about the impact, the really profound impact a simple sound or maybe a repeated phrase can have on your mind, maybe your body, even your spirit? It's a question people have asked for, well, ages.
And what's really compelling here, I think, is this core idea that mantras are much more than just words. They're believed to be a jivit kampan, a living vibration. Now, this idea, it's deeply rooted in ancient traditions, yeah? But it's also being explored more and more by science. This whole idea of the universe being vibrational. Mantras in that sense are like keys to different cosmic frequencies.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is sort of to peel back the layers on this ancient practice, look at where it came from, how it's used practically, what the observed benefits are, and really show how something so ancient can still be so relevant, so powerful today. Okay, so let's start right there. What exactly is a mantra? At its core, we hear the term a lot, but what does it fundamentally mean?
Well, the word mantra itself, it's thought to come from Sanskrit, which is, language famous for its sound sensitivity. It seems to combine manas, meaning mine,
Manas, right, mind.
and tram, meaning instrument or tool. So, quite literally, a mantra is an instrument of the mind, a structured thought, perhaps, a tool to focus your awareness.
An instrument of the mind. I like that. That frames it powerfully. So definitely not just some random words you repeat.
Oh, absolutely not. A mantra is defined as a sacred utterance. It could be a numinous sound, a syllable, a word, or even a group of words, often repeated. Some have literal meanings, sure, but others might just be sounds, yet they're all considered, musically uplifting, spiritually meaningful. And historically, the earliest mentions we find are way back in the ancient Vedas of India and also the Avesta of Iran, which suggests this common origin, Proto-Indo-Iranian, maybe around 2000 BCE. It shows how deep these roots go in human consciousness.
That's incredible. Thinking something from, 4,000 years ago still resonates. You mentioned the universe's vibration. How does that tie in?
Right. So if you consider that ancient belief, which, interestingly, modern physics is sort of circling back to, that the whole universe is just this complex mix of vibrations and sounds, then mantras are seen as specific keys, like tuning forks, almost. They're designed to tune us into specific cosmic frequencies, potentially unlocking different dimensions of our experience, both internal and external. It's about achieving a kind of resonance.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. How do these sounds, these vibrations, actually do anything? It can sound a bit abstract. Is there a logic to it?
There is, actually. It's not purely abstract. Take Sanskrit, the language many of these mantras come from. It's considered uniquely sound-sensitive. Each akshar, that's a letter or syllable, is believed to have its own distinct vibrational frequency. So when you chant them correctly, with the right pronunciation, these vibrations are thought to interact directly with our own mental and physical, our subtle energy waves, our internal frequencies.
So the actual sound, its specific resonance, that's critical.
Absolutely critical. And tied right into that is the element of hav, your intention, your feeling, your faith. There's that traditional wisdom captured in the proverb, mantra tirtha viji, jaisa aapka bhav hota, aapka vaisa phal milta hai.
Ah, yes. As your faith is, so you receive.
Precisely. It means the quality of your intention really determines the outcome. So pure bhav combined with correct ucharan pronunciation is what's believed to bring shanti, peace, and unend bliss, not just for the person chanting, but even for those listening.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like sound plus heartfelt intention creates something powerful. Now, speaking of powerful sounds, Om. Everyone knows Om, right? What's the deal with it? Why is it so significant?
Or often AUM. It's considered the pranava mantra, the primal sound, the source, really, from which all other mantras are said to emerge. It's foundational. If we break it down briefly, AO is often said to represent creation, the physical world, our waking state. U represents the subtle realm, dreams, wisdom. And M signifies dissolution, deep sleep, leading towards pure consciousness. It kind of covers the whole cycle of existence.
The whole cycle in one sound.
Exactly. And you'll notice Om often starts and ends Hindu prayers, right? That highlights its foundational role. There's an ancient text, the Mandukya Upanishad, which teaches that really knowing Aum as the self, that understanding leads to oneness with the ultimate reality, the formless Brahman.
Wow. Okay, so clearly mantras aren't a one-size-fits-all thing. What different types are there? It sounds like a huge field.
It really is diverse. Broadly speaking, you could categorize them maybe as Vedic, Tantric, Bhakti, and even healing mantras. Each category sort of has its own purpose, its own focus. It allows for a lot of different approaches depending on what someone is seeking.
Can we zoom in on one type? Maybe something really concentrated.
Certainly. A really fascinating category is the Bij mantras. Bij means seed.
Seed mantras, okay.
Yes. These are incredibly potent, usually single-syllable sounds. They're considered the seeds from which longer, more complex mantras grow or manifest. Each Bij mantra is directly linked to a specific deity or a cosmic principle. All that power is packed into that one sound.
Like a spiritual concentrate.
Yeah.
Could you give some examples? What are some of these Bij mantras, and what are they traditionally linked to?
Exactly, a concentrate. Well, for instance, Dum is associated with goddess Durga, often for protection. Krim is for Mother Kali, believed to help remove sorrow. Gam is for Lord Ganesha, invoked to remove obstacles. Then there's Hrim for Devi Mahamaya Bhuvaneshwari, said to dispel misfortune. Shreem is a very well-known one for Mahalakshmi, aimed at wealth and prosperity. And for knowledge, learning, the arts, there's Aim for Ma Saraswati.
It's amazing how specific they are, each sound tied to a particular energy or benefit.
It is quite intricate. And there are other applications too. For example, the Navagraha Bij mantras. These are used in Vedic astrology to mitigate potentially negative influences from the planets in someone's birth chart.
Connecting to astrology as well.
Yes. And then you have the chakra Bij mantras. These are specifically for activating and balancing the body's energy centers, the chakras. Specific sounds like Lam for the root chakra, the Muladhara, or Om itself for the third eye, the Ajna chakra. Chanting these is believed to stimulate those points, fostering things like stability, intuition, compassion, and so on.
That's a whole system right there, connecting sound to our internal energy map. What about some of the longer, maybe more widely known mantras?
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the Bij type, you have incredibly revered ones like the Gayatri Mantra. It's from the Rig Veda, considered a universal prayer for spiritual light and awakening. There's the Pavamana Mantra, which is chanted to lead one from the unreal to the real, darkness to light, death to immortality. And the Shanti Mantra, well, as the name implies, it's for peace, for tranquility. And in Jainism, the Namakar mantra is absolutely central. It's a profound salutation to the enlightened beings, considered highly powerful.
Okay, so we've covered a lot about what they are and the different types. But what does this mean for us, practically speaking? Beyond the spiritual text, is there actual, scientific backing for the benefits people talk about? What's the research showing?
That's a really important question, right? Because this is where ancient wisdom and modern science seem to be shaking hands, in a way. And yes, scientific research is starting to validate many of the traditional claims about mantra chanting's effect.
That's really compelling. Let's maybe start with the mental benefits, stress, focus, that sort of thing.
Okay, mentally. Studies have shown that regular mantra chanting can actually lower cortisol levels.
The stress hormone.
Exactly, which leads to reduced feelings of stress and anxiety. That's quite measurable. Also, the very act of focusing on repeating a mantra, this practice called ekagrata, it demonstrably enhances concentration and even memory recall. Brainwave studies are also interesting. Research indicates chanting stimulates alpha and theta brainwaves.
Those are the relaxed, focused states.
Yes, the ones associated with relaxation, focused attention, meditation. Some studies, for example, mentioned looking at cancer patients and finding improvements in well-being markers with regular chanting of specific mantras, like the Mahamrita Genjay mantra.
So it can literally shift our brain activity and chemistry. What about promoting a more positive mindset?
That seems to be part of it, too. The idea is that these positive sound vibrations work on the subconscious mind. They help to sort of clear out negative thought patterns and cultivate a more optimistic outlook over time.
Okay, and physically. Does chanting actually impact our physical health?
Yes, there seem to be physical correlates, too. For example, by promoting relaxation, chanting can contribute to regulating blood pressure. And because it reduces stress, it can indirectly support the immune system. Less stress generally means a stronger immune response.
Makes sense.
Plus, the actual mechanics of chanting, especially with proper breathing, can strengthen the vocal cords and potentially improve lung capacity. And then there's the energy aspect again. The sound energy is believed to activate and balance the chakras, the body's energy centers. Chanting for instance, is thought to stimulate the navel, heart, and brain areas, helping energy flow more harmoniously.
It really does paint a picture of mind, body, spirit, all interconnected. And the deeper spiritual side.
Spiritually, mantras are seen as powerful guides, tools to help practitioners move towards Atmasakshatkar's self-realization. They help deepen meditative states. And they offer a way to shift focus, from the day-to-day worries and uncertainties towards bigger transcendental goals, like seeking a deeper connection or maybe seeking forgiveness, addressing those fundamental human needs on a spiritual level.
This all sounds incredibly potent. But also, it sounds like something that needs to be done correctly. You mentioned pronunciation earlier. How does someone actually practice mantra chanting effectively? Are there rules?
You're right, the how is crucial. And traditionally, the role of a guru, a spiritual teacher, is considered really important here. Getting Guru Diksha, which is initiation from a qualified guru, and being part of a Guru Parampara, a lineage of teachers, these are often seen as vital for the full power of ancient mantras to unfold. The idea is that these mantras are divine utterances originally revealed to sages, and they need to be transmitted properly, authentically.
So it's not just picking one from a book. Ideally, it's about receiving it correctly. What about the practical steps, the rules for japs, the repetition itself?
Exactly. Authenticity matters. For jap, several things are traditionally emphasized. First, Sharir ki shuddhi, purity of the body. Usually this means bathing before you start chanting. Second, the environment. A quiet, clean, maybe isolated place is best. Helps with focus. Could be a corner at home or somewhere in nature under a tree, by a river, places thought to have good energy. Third, posture. Sitting straight, often on a specific type of mat called a kush mat. The straight spine is key because it's believed to align the Sushumna Nadi, the central energy channel. This allows prana, the life force, to flow freely, enhancing energy absorption during the practice.
Purity, place, posture. Got it. What about the actual chanting?
Then comes the chanting itself. Shuddhushan, pure, correct pronunciation is stressed. Get the sounds right, and the pace should be consistent. Not too fast, not too slow. Incorrect pronunciation, it's warned, can make the mantra ineffective or even produce unwanted results in some traditions.
Okay, precision matters.
Very much. And there's also this interesting tradition of secrecy. Keeping your personal mantra practice private is often advised. It's believed to help build Siddhi's spiritual power or accomplishment. So if others are around, a recommendation is often to do manas jap mental repetition rather than chanting out loud.
Right. And you mentioned different ways to recite. Can you elaborate on those types of japs?
Yes, there are generally three main types. Vachik jap is chanting out loud clearly. This is sometimes used for specific, quite powerful outcomes, including some mentioned in older texts related to, influencing things or protection. Then there's Upanshu jap. This is whispering or murmuring, only the lips move, nobody else can really hear it. This is often used for seeking peace, shanti, or for nourishment and growth, pushti karma. And the highest form, especially for goals like siddhi or moksha liberation, is manas jap. Purely mental repetition. No sound, no lip movement, just repeating the mantra silently in the mind.
Fascinating distinction. And tools, people often use beads, right? And what about timing?
Yes, a mala prayer beads, usually 108 beads, is very commonly used. It helps keep count and maintain focus during repetitions. As for timing, the very early morning around 4 a.m., the Brahma Muhurta, is often considered highly auspicious. Also, times like solar or lunar eclipses are seen as especially potent periods for chanting, sometimes done while standing in a river, believed to amplify the benefits manifold.
Now, with practices this ancient and, frankly, powerful sounding, there are bound to be misunderstandings. What are some common myths we should probably clear up?
Good point. Clarity is important. One big myth is thinking mantra is magic, like a spell that grants wishes instantly. It's really not magic in that simplistic sense. It's more like, science and faith working together to create a powerful tool. Mantras need shraddha, faith, devotion, intention, and they need you to follow the guidelines, the discipline, for them to really work fully. It's not an effortless shortcut.
Right. It requires engagement, not just passive wishing. What about the idea that any mantra will do? Are they interchangeable?
That's another common misconception. All mantras are the same. Absolutely not true. Each mantra has its unique vibrational signature, its specific sound form, and it's linked to particular deities, energies, or purposes. Because of this, chanting different mantras will naturally lead to different experiences, different effects. A mantra for peace feels different and works differently than one for, say, overcoming obstacles or attracting prosperity. Recognizing this diversity is key.
Okay, that distinction is crucial. So bringing this all together, how can someone listening right now start to bring this ancient wisdom into their, modern, often chaotic life? What's the practical takeaway?
That's the key question, isn't it? How to make it relevant. And the good news is, integrating mantras doesn't have to be some huge disruptive thing. You can start really simply. For instance, just starting your day by chanting Om a few times, maybe 3 times, 5 times. It can set a really calm, centered tone.
That sounds manageable. A simple morning ritual? What about during the day or for specific needs?
Well, if you meditate, you could incorporate the Gayatri Mantra, or maybe the Mahamriti Unjay mantra for well-being. If you feel stressed at work, even just mentally repeating a simple mantra like Om Namah Shivaya or Hare Krishna for a minute or two can be incredibly grounding. Just bring your focus back. And before sleep, maybe reciting a mantra associated with peace, like a Shanti mantra, could really help calm the mind for better rest.
It seems like the real power comes from consistency, though.
Absolutely. That's the secret ingredient, really.
Yeah.
Nyamatabhai's regular, consistent practice. Even if it's just for a few minutes each day, doing it regularly is what builds the momentum and deepens the impact. These are potent tools, and like any tool, they become more effective the more skillfully and consistently you use them.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with the ancient roots of mantras, their meaning as instruments of the mind, the vibrational nature of Sanskrit. We talked about the vital role of bhav, intention, and the foundational power of Om.
Mm-hmm. And we explored the different types, from the potent single-syllable Bij mantras linked to deities and chakras to the more universal ones like Gayatri. Then we moved into the benefits, mental focus, stress reduction, even physical effects, looking at how science is beginning to observe these things, and of course the spiritual upliftment.
And importantly, we looked at the how-to, the practice, the sadhana, the significance of the guru, the rules for jap, the different recitation types. We also tackled some common myths, clarifying it's not magic, but requires faith and discipline, and finally offered some simple ways to weave this into daily life. It really is this amazing blend of sound, science, and, well, faith.
So perhaps a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder as you reflect on all this. What really stands out to you about this whole idea of sound acting as a kind of key? A key unlocking different dimensions of your own experience. How might exploring that idea further open up new insights for you on your own journey?
We really hope this deep dive into Mantra and Kishaki has given you a fresh perspective and maybe some truly useful nuggets of knowledge. Definitely continue your own exploration into these fascinating vibrations.
Indeed. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning.
Dhanyavad and Namaste.